I bought this Yamaha PSR-36 on eBay for $89. I bought it because I wanted an example of a 4-operator FM synthesizer for an upcoming video where I'm going to attempt to explain how FM synthesis works, and I thought it would be a good contrast to have against all of the 2-operator FM synthesizers I have. Unfortunately, FedEx wasn't very kind to it. Clearly it was damaged. The entire keyboard had a huge depression in it, like a car had run over it, and one of the keys was sticking up. In fact, most of the keys towards the center didn't even work, and you could hear a clack sound when pressing them. Now, the seller was great, and he did offer to refund my money, but I decided to go ahead and keep the keyboard and attempt to fix it. And he did still refund half my money, which was pretty cool. I took it apart so I could see the damage inside. As I was afraid, the metal frame was bent, and lots of little loose plastic pieces fell out. These are the pieces of the black keys. Okay, so I had 2 plans for fixing this thing. Now, plan A was going to be to completely disassemble it, take all the keys off, attempt to bend the metal frame back into shape, and superglue the keys and put it all back together. Also, since most of the damaged keys were in this area, I thought I would move those keys up here where I use them much less often. Plan B involved my PSR-32. Notice that physically these keyboards are very similar and were made during the same time period. I suspected the entire keyboard mechanism would swap from one keyboard to the other, so I took it apart to compare. Sure enough, they are compatible. You can see they even use the same ribbon cable and connectors. Granted, the wires are not the same color, but that shouldn't matter. So I started the process of unscrewing the mounting bolts for the mechanical part and then removing the grounding bolts. I unplugged the ribbon cables, and it was pretty simple to remove. Once the mechanical part was removed, it was time to remove the circuit board, which contains all of the contacts. Next, I started removing all of the keys. They're pretty easy to remove at this point. Once all of the keys were removed, the damage to the frame was more clear. The first thing I did was use a piece of wood as a fulcrum point and bend the main part back. That wasn't too hard. I used one of these metal clamps to help me straighten this piece. A simple pair of pliers was all I needed for these mounting brackets. Well, it looked pretty straight at this point, so I decided to start cleaning these dirty keys before I put them back on. It's much easier to clean them at this stage than once it's assembled. The black keys have to go in first before you can put in the white keys. So this is as far as I could go without repairing the black keys. So I started putting together a jigsaw puzzle trying to figure out which pieces go to which keys. I used crazy glue to put them back together, but I didn't try to film this process because it was very delicate and time sensitive, and I couldn't operate the camera while doing this. Needless to say, it worked for the most part. Here are the finished keys. A few pieces are still missing, but good enough to work. And here's the finished assembly. So I put the keyboard all back together and cleaned it up. It definitely looks much better now. So I figured I'd do a quick test and a demonstration of a few of the sounds on this thing. Well, I'm glad this worked because I really didn't want to sacrifice my PSR-32 to fix this if I didn't have to, and it looks like I didn't, so that's pretty cool. I'm sure at some point I'll go ahead and do a full review on this keyboard, and I have to admit this thing does sound pretty cool. It definitely doesn't sound like anything else I have. Now, I would point out that even though this is a 4-operator FM synthesizer. Most of the really professional ones in the 80s, like for example, the famous Yamaha DX7, I think was a 6 operator. So there's still a bit of some difference between this and the fully professional ones, but it does sound pretty darn cool. Anyway, I am the 8-Bit Guy, and I will see you next time.